Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of The Letter, running on Series X. Alright, we just killed Ash, so let's see what happens next.
Whatever do you mean? Oh, that old thing. It's somewhere in the vanity drawer, I think.
And to be so aloof about it?
What? But wasn't that from your father?
It was a priceless heirloom, to be exact, handed down from one generation of Evans to the next, whether it be to a wife or a daughter of an Evans. I know that Hannah treasures it so, especially after it was given to her by her own mother's passing. Then, what is that ugly thing dangling around her neck? It looks more like a choking hazard than anything.
It was, of course it was. I just thought a change would be nice.
I don't think I've ever seen her wear anything else in its place. A change it is, but not an entirely welcome one at that.
I see. I suppose that makes sense. Well, not that it matters, but I like the old necklace better. At the very least, we can have it cleaned and polished while you're not wearing it. Remind me to have that done in the morning.
Whatever you wish, my prince.
Right. You have a good night then, Buttercup.
With a shake of my head, I don't waste any more time than I've done already. Heavy suitcase in hand, I head straight into the study and dive right into the contracts. There's a whole stack of them too, mostly to do with property management. Nonetheless, careful work needs to be put into them, as with everything else. My attorneys have already checked them over, but I like to be precise. I'm not going to sign if there's even a single line I do not like. It's a long way into the night when a coldness envelops the room. I suspect at first that it's merely just the usual chill, but the heaters have been turned on as the strange sunny weather has been gracing us as of late has come to an end. The door is barely open, just by a crack, though I shut it just in case that might help. Satisfied, though not as much as I would have liked, the room still feels freezing. I make my way back to the mess of documents waiting for me at the table. In just a few more and I can get that well-deserved rest, get out of this place and dive into warm comforts of my bed. Then maybe if Hannah's still up for it. Well, it's more than enough motivation. Parking my rear back on the chair, I begin my work with the last of the blasted papers, more than ready to be done with everything and turn in for the night. Only for another chill to startle me to a stop. And that's when I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Eyes boring at the back of my head, a brush of air just at the nape, and when I glance back, reflected in the lone portrait in the room, someone stands behind me, just by the study door I closed moments ago, though I did not hear it open. Perhaps it is Hannah trying to be sneaky, or Stocken being a bellend of a spook as usual.
Do I really have to ask people to knock before they enter? Seriously now, this is anarchy, and I'll have you know...
I turn, but there's nothing.
Huh. Must have been a trick of the light. It is getting late, and I should really go to bed myself. Just have to finish looking over a few more contracts, and...
Yes, just finished signing these and I can have some rest. Maybe arrange for a day off in the morning. Sighing, I steel myself for a long night of dry paperwork. Still, the feeling that I'm being watched stays with me all through the night. October 30th, Sunday. And with the sun rising comes another disturbance. Both too loud and too sharp for my tastes. And I have very fine tastes. When the piercing rings of a doorbell reaches me even the study, I'm very much inclined to think the person who built this place lacks any sense of it. Perhaps the only thing good in this place is that the ruckus has chased away the needling guilt from last night's commotion, if only temporarily. Still, it's a bloody annoying distraction. I can tell already that it's going to be a long day, and it hasn't even started. Before the racket lasts another minute, I'm peeling myself off the chair and heading straight for the main door. There will be a murder today if this doesn't let up. How quaint. Seems everything in this blasted universe is intent on getting in my nerves as of late.
Gordon Bennett! Only a Nancy would knock at such an ungodly hour!
In the first place, I shouldn't be the one doing this. This is why I hired a valet, for fuck's sake.
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
I'll be honest, if only for today, With the mansion this quiet at this hour of the morning, it's easy to believe these little ghost stories might be real. But the only horror here is how odd my wife has been acting as of late. There's no place for fear when another set of problems already burns that fuel. So I wait for another second. When no butler still answers my call, I simply yank the doors open myself, perhaps with more force than needed. And maybe it should be appropriate there, considering the person on the other side of the hour he dared appear on my doorstep. Even someone with half a brain knows not to disturb someone this early. Brief confusion quickly gives way to anger, and before the bloody photographer can get a word in, I'm hurling venom at him. It's less than he deserves, really. Hana will disapprove, scold me for treating the photographer with such disrespect, if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him, after all, despite meeting him only once or twice. He's merely doing his job, she'll say. But she's not here, isn't she? What she doesn't know.
You? How the hell did you get in here? What in 7 hells do you want? It's bloody 6 in the morning!
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't.
This is still my home. My rules also apply to this place as much as Hana's do. As simple as that.
Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep.
It just so happens it's also a person I will never take a liking to. No need for remorse.
Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
He continued shouting even as I slammed the door in his face. Some nonsense about the news lately, though I don't understand most of it. However, with the door closed, muffling the better part of it with no ears to listen to, his tirade doesn't last too long. Eventually he leaves, and silence once again fills the room as it should. In hindsight, maybe I should call for psychiatric services. It certainly sounds mental, just screaming like that. A suspicious man like him left roaming in the immediate grounds, nothing good can come of it. But if his presence will indeed bring a problem, a sign of bad things to come, I'll probably know soon enough. Worst comes to worst, Strachan will take care of it if need be. It's what I'm paying him for. In the meantime, I need to rest, even for just a few hours. My lovely wife's still fast asleep when I finally join her in our bed. As odd as she has been acting lately, her company's nice after spending long, grueling hours going through business documents. Then again, it's not like I'd be losing out much if I take a break or two. In fact, all I have to do is say the word, and Vance General Electronics stocks are going to go down. That's the least I can do after Rochelle Vance's outburst during the party. I highly doubt she will be Rochelle Lee for long, not if Harvey has any sense in him. So, with a sigh, I drift off, setting aside my problems if only for a few hours. Waking up to find my bed empty hours later is a strange sensation. Not to speak ill of Hana, but I've always woken up first, even in the early years of our marriage, mostly because I've always been accustomed to doing so. As a child, I woke up early to escape the house before one of Mother's scheduled day clients came in. Later on, it was to assist with breakfast and to prepare for school, and it just kept with me through the years for one reason or another. If there was no reason to wake up at 6 in the morning, my mind would also find reason to work, to nurse a terrible hangover, to make sure I was the one leaving the bed first, just because, and not the other way around. Checking the time on my phone shows that it's already 8:30, but what can I do about it? Getting up is an entirely different problem on its own. Waking up after getting only a few hours of sleep in has my body stiff and sore and my mind feeling lethargic. Part of me wants to go back and doze off again, an alien feeling to me, but it's already far too late for my tastes. All I can manage is to sit up before there's a knock on the door.
Yes, come in. I'm decent. I don't see why you have to knock.
Even if it was only in my knickers, there's only 2 others inside the house aside from myself. I've arranged for the staff to have Sunday off, what with it so close to a holiday anyway, so I can have some peace and privacy. The security outside of the house doesn't count, of course. There's no need for Hana to knock, so I expected to be the butler and ready myself for a reproach. To see that it is Hana is odd, but not a cause for concern. Most likely she, too, found it strange to see me still sleeping and had let me indulge. Yet there is something off. I just can't put my finger on what it is. Whatever it is, it can wait. Besides, when there are strange things, it is better to wait them out, as they often become apparent with time. Not that I should complain when she greets me with a sunny smile on her face and a tray of food.
Good morning, dear. It looks like I overslept, huh? I haven't had that pleasure in a long while.
You should really indulge in it a bit more, my prince. I hope you do not mind, but I made breakfast for you.
I've been expecting her to tell me that she brought the meal up in order to eat together, not that she made it. For in all our marriage, Hana had never cooked once, though I can hardly find it in me to question her efforts unless she was trying to poison me. Perish the thought. But she carries with her a platter of pies, delicious looking, round pockets of goodness. I'll have no second thoughts in fishing one off the plate with a hum. In fact, it smells divine and looks the part as well. The crust from the outside looked like it's been baked up to a golden flaky perfection. The egg wash wasn't forgotten either, giving it a nice finish.
You made these? You're not pulling my leg, are you? These look great.
I make only the best for you, my love. Do try it out yourself, yes? I want to see what you make of it. Perhaps I will be able to prepare more meals for you in the future.
Breakfast in bed? You spoil me, darling. Well, I can't say no to that, can I? Bon appetit!
The crust of the pie breaks easily with a bite, and I'm greeted with a taste of nice buttery pastry. But looking back down at the pie, I feel a bit put off. The meat is red and a tad bit soggy, though I can't place what would make it that way. It tastes of turkey more than beef, though an old one at that. There's no real sauce or marinade to excuse the juice. It tastes like the turkey has been kept too long in the fridge after being roasted and carved. Definitely white meat, at the very least, and well done as well. The thing is tough, though, stringy and sinewy, which would say it's more muscle than anything. And...
What is...
I sputter, try to spit out whatever it might be. A few strands of something thankfully comes out. Although if I've swallowed any, it's far too late, not unless I want to act like a cat trying to cough up a furball. It's just unfortunate that odd sensation of being stuck to my throat still lingers, even as I down the glass of juice she has brought me with the meal.
Buttercup, are you sure the ingredients you used are clean?
Oh, I do apologize. That must be... You know, Chef has been feeding some stray cats lately. There are some roaming around the property. I saw him petting one just the other day during his break. Said he found it in the cellar. But you have nothing to worry about, my love. I took care of it.
She laughs then, probably because of the funny look on my face. But I just have this funny image in my head of Hana chasing after a cat to shoo it out. We aren't cat people, but I doubt that means she would be cruel to the feline.
Maybe the other pies are clean.
I don't quite have the appetite for breakfast anymore. But thanks. Bloody cats.
If that is what you wish, all the same, it will give me more time to spend with you. You will spend time with me, yes?
I did tell myself that I will let myself have the day off today, but she doesn't know that, and I can't help but feel that offness again as her eyes burn through me. There is an eagerness there, a hunger which makes my skin crawl, an unnatural reaction. I can do little else but nod, because answering otherwise seems the wrong thing to do.
Would it please you to have some tea then? I can fetch it if you wish.
Pushing myself off the bed with a groan, I roll my eyes and sigh. The crick I feel in my neck is easily taken care of, and I try to flatten my bed head to something a bit tamer. All throughout, Hana still watches me, expecting and doting.
No need for that. We can have tea in the parlor, if you don't mind. Really now, Hana, there's no need to busy yourself over it.
Would it please you to have some tea then? I can fetch it if you wish.
I should go ahead and prepare the parlor then.
Just relax.
I barely said 2 words before she's out the door, however, and I'm left speaking to air.
Hana, what is up with that woman?
Though perhaps I should have said no. Perhaps I should have feigned business or claimed a restlessness that would let me out of the house, away from her and her pies. Because as soon as I've stated my intent to laze the day away, that woman would never let me lift a finger nor step a foot outside. She is animated, oddly so, moving about the parlor and fetching things for me that she deemed necessary. And were necessary, as if she knows what I need or want before I can even voice it aloud. A pillow for my feet, and a book to read, though I cannot, for the life of me, focus on it. It does not bother me too much, as I've read the picture of Dorian Gray twice over. I knew nothing but shadows, and I thought them could be real. I should be glad for the attention and the doting, really. Instead, an uneasiness settles itself in my stomach.
Why don't you just sit down and relax, dear? We are supposed to be spending time together. I don't think you rushing around like a handmaid is how I pictured it. You are wearing yourself out, and the sun is still high in the sky.
There's a stiff jerk of her head, as if to say no, while she busies herself with making tea with water already lukewarm. My instruction to take leave may be the only one she refuses to follow. even if I express concern for her well-being and point out that there are others assigned to the task she wishes to carry out.
You do not need the others. You have me. I wish to show my usefulness, and I wish that you not ask me to leave.
You are not one of the servants, Hana.
It was a thought that escaped my mouth, and I prepared myself for a reprimanding. Because servants? Lucille Mitchell Wright, or Lucille Mitchell Wright. These are our employees, and you will treat them with respect at the very least. Yet that didn't come.
Of course. Of course I'm not a servant. I am your wife. Your princess.
I thought we were both a bit too old to be playing princes and princesses. I do not know what brought on such behavior from her. Yet I can't bring myself to scoff at the idea, not when she looks torn and kind words might bring her some degree of comfort. I will indulge in this delusional talk of monarchy to an extent. One could suppose that Hana is indeed Luxborn royalty after all. But as I've said in the past, this sort of obsession does not quite suit me. Yes, I do crave power and attention, but this sort of thing is suffocating, stifling, wrong. It seems complicated and contradicting, when in all honesty it's quite simple. If Hana were to ever put me on a pedestal, she would be turning into every other woman that I've managed to seduce due to my money and station. She'd be nothing, less than the Hana that I have found to love. She'd be nothing but a mindless follower. Love and obsession is not one and the same. I don't want a lovesick woman who just puts another before herself.
Princess. Oh, no, Hana. You are my queen. And a queen needs to sit next to her king. So please, sit.
I can still feel them, little bugs on my skin, crawling and squirming. But I ignore them as Hana sits down next to me and I put my hand in hers. The touch nearly makes me want to pull away. For now I feel them burrowing into my skin, digging holes into me, though there is nothing to be seen there. I clasp her hand, though her touch burns both cold and hot. I do not like the thought that Hana, my sunshine, my darling, is someone I should fear. It's a bit of a paradox. For all that I do and should feel at peace in this quiet moment, dread overtakes every part of me. A small voice in the back of my head screams that there is something wrong, but I cannot bring myself to look further into it. The whole thing doesn't even last.
The tea is ready. I should go. I've forgotten the milk and sugar in the kitchens. If you may excuse me.
Oh, I know, I've forgotten where I've saved everything. Did we let her go or call the butler? Normally I would call the butler. She's acting super weird. I guess I should let her go. I'll do that. I don't say a word as her hand slips through mine and I'm left alone for a short while. My skin is numb while she's gone and my mind wanders. My eyes roam to one of the paintings in the room. Lord and Lady and Lord Ermengarde, I suppose. Or is it their daughter and her fiancé? I had agreed to the acquisition of this house on a whim, on a thought. It was just an added bonus that I share some likeness to the young lord. Not so vain that I thought to look in a mirror only to find that it's one of my old portraits. But what can one blame me if I preen, with the chatty servants pointing out how I can very well pass off as him with a hairstylist and a costume. Certainly a great ego boost, though only a crazy random happenstance. To imagine that it is my face on the oil canvas having a commission befitting royalty. To believe that it is my face on the walls and believe that I've always belonged here. To believe that I've never been a street rat. The stinging and the buzzing returns as does Hana. There is something really wrong, but what? Watching Hana set the table gives me some time to think. I suppose it could just be paranoia. I've been informed of a particular nosy investigator snooping about, and Suarez has yet to catch who leaked confidential information regarding my businesses. It can be any number of things, really. I have so many things to do after this impromptu day off. But as I was saying, or thinking rather, I do not want to believe this is Hana. She is acting differently, but that is a thing humans do. We are not static creatures who act our day-to-day in the same manner as the previous one. I care greatly about her, and, knock on wood, I have hope that this odd behavior of hers is not an omen of things to come. At worst, this is merely behavior of hers I've only failed to notice before. I did not blame the party and that horrid Rochelle Lee. To prove her usefulness, she said, so that I do not send her away. It disturbs me greatly, now that I watch her closely while she pours me a drink, but does not bother to have one herself.
It's not that I'm criticizing your sudden initiative to be a housewife. That is your choice, of course. I admit I may be partly at fault. I've been neglectful and haven't shown my appreciation to you, as of late. But you do know that you really don't have to do any of this.
I can see her hand shake as she offers me the cup. Did I strike a nerve? Whatever the case, I reach out to take the tea before she can drop it. No. As it turns out, I'm the one who would be ending up dropping the tea, though mercy of mercies, the tea was cold. On the other hand, Hannah's skin burned even more so than before.
Oh no, please don't be angry. I'm so sorry, my prince.
A small cry escapes the woman's lips before she kneels down to clean up, picking up porcelain shards from the carpet. It is then that I notice the light sheen of sweat dotting her forehead, the paleness of her skin, and just how sickly and dull she seems to be overall. I stop her, grabbing her wrist with one hand and placing my other hand on her forehead. She's burning up.
Hannah, don't. I think you should rest. Just sit back and...
The thing about people fainting is that you don't really get forewarning. It's not like in the films where everything slows down and you get to watch as the other person's eyes roll into the back of their head. I suppose someone can still be quick enough to catch the other as they collapse, but as it is, I can't do anything when Hannah falls to her side. The feeling of bugs on my skin is replaced by something much worse. This is all too familiar, a memory that hasn't left me even after all these years. She was sprawled on the ground, her hair like a golden halo as it curled about her. Her pale skin made her look so ghostly. I had the irrational thought that she would simply fade away, and the shakes. Oh, I was so worried that she would start shaking again like last time. I could do little but stare, so shocked and frail, and afraid. I was ready to call for an ambulance, though she loathed the thought of going to a hospital. Mum, are you all right?
Don't worry, dear. I just fell. Can you get Mommy special candy from my drawer?
But this isn't my mother. There's no special candy because this isn't supposed to happen. She never did this before.
Hannah, are you all right?
Before I know it, I'm down on my knees. The cup shards dig into my leg of my pants, but I ignore them in favor of Hannah. She's warm, too warm, even as I try to shake her awake. Part of me says that it's a good thing. Better for her to be warm, to know that her blood still courses through her body, hot-blooded things that humans are, to know that she still lives and that she isn't as cold as death. I don't even realize it, but I'm screaming. Not until I'm pulled away. Not until I'm struggling in desperation as I refuse to leave Hannah's side. I cry to be let go, scratching, kicking, and doing everything but biting the one who dares hold me back. The images of Mother, dead in her bed, flash before my eyes. I need to do something. Anything. I don't want to be alone. Not again.
Hannah, don't you fucking leave me! Oh God, wake up, Hannah!
Your blithering hysterics help no one, right? Now stay back before I knock you out.
I had to keep myself from lashing out, from strangling him for daring to get in the way of my wife and I. But I remind myself that Thraken was a doctor. He is here to help. He can help Hannah. And I will not accept excuses or suffer no incompetence.
Fix her, Shrokin! Make sure she's all right! Because if she dies, so do you.
The stiff nod he gives me is probably the only guarantee I have that he'll do his best. Keeping yourself from dying is the best incentive anyone can get. Even then, I cannot bring myself to rest easy. Deep breaths. Just take deep breaths. Panicking and murder isn't going to help Hannah right now.
How is she? What's wrong with her?
I really can't tell, not without further laboratory tests. It can range from anything to simple dehydration or exhaustion to philosophical syncope. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. She has a high-grade fever. It could very well shut down her body. We have to go and cool her down, see if we can get it under control.
Well, should we call for an ambulance?
If she doesn't wake up soon, yes. But it's best not to move her just yet and...
Luke, what's going on? What happened?
I have no plans of apologizing as I shove the butler aside to check on Hannah. Though she still lay on the ground, all that matters is that she's awake, that she isn't dead. Just the thought of it. Fuck, I don't know what I would have done if things were to the contrary.
Hey there, Sunshine. How are you feeling? Do you think you're up to standing?
I don't feel too good, no. But I think I can stand.
She reaches out for my hand, and I'm quick to take it. Her cold and clammy skin is a cause for concern, but I force a reassuring smile on my face. At least I hope it's reassuring. This isn't exactly an emotion I'm used to plastering on my face. I rarely have need or want to reassure anyone else. The most I can hope for is that I don't make her worry.
Come on then, let's get you up. Careful, careful. We don't want you to fall or break something.
Like a leg or your head. Though getting her up to her feet is easier said than done, she claims that she can manage to stand, but she's completely dead weight as I lift her up. Weak. Too weak. I can feel the trembling of her body, as if just existing has exhausted her. Soon enough, Shotgun aids me and we manage to let Ahana onto a chair without further incident. I have half the mind to wrench free and run. This is all too familiar, and I wanted no part of this. Why do we even have the choice? At the moment, I suppose, yes. I'm not running away. That's preposterous. I just need to get some air.
Shrouken, take her up to our room and take care of her, all right? Schedule an immediate appointment to a physician. Get it done. As soon as possible. I just need to...
Breathe. I need to breathe. Gray skies loom over in the horizon, though the sun fights for every precious minute of it gets to stay. It'll rain again soon, with the wind bringing along the gloomy clouds normal to Luxburn. Until then, it doesn't hurt to be out of here for fresh air and sunshine. I walk to the gardens, what little of it there is at the moment anyway, and kneel by the daffodils. These were the first to be brought here and planted on my request, and if nothing else, they brought in a sense of peace. They were Mother's favorites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin up to welcome the light that shines upon me. And for a minute, I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful, blooming, and all too happy to stand in its warmth. Life would be much easier if we were all like flowers, wouldn't it? But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical. I have problems much more practical than figuring out the meaning of life, after all. Too many things have gone on these past few days, and I want to forget about them, even for just a moment.
It's almost All Saints, isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak those words absent-mindedly. To date, the date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never given a proper burial. But it's a date, as good as any, for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone else out. I can remember how the flames licked at her flesh and how it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and a social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. All that is left of her, proof that she had lived, in her name written in the ledger of Luxburn Cemetery, a lighter and me. Pulling out the lighter from my jacket, I can't stop myself from flicking it open to stare at the flame and try to rub my thumb over her name. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. And it'll be wrong of me not to make something of myself when she would have given everything to make sure I become anything I want to be.
Feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a wonderful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone had seen past her occupation, past her vices and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet, and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, the woman who gave and gave and gave to me while experiencing nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give back. I learned that from the father who plucked me out of an orphanage for his own selfish gain. I pocketed the lighter before I could feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be the most likely victim of arson. Just the thought itself is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save them from being picked, just enough to make a bouquet of the things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You're always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into, more than I deserved. Especially now.
It's been a while since I've talked to my mother like this. They say that even when our loved ones have passed on, they stay to watch over us. Though I believe in neither a heaven nor hell, a hopeful part of me wishes it were true, as ridiculous as the idea is. I can't help but grow still, a chill going up my spine, when I do feel eyes upon me. For a while I think I'm imagining it, but I'm all too familiar with the sensation of being watched. Careful, I scan my surroundings, doing my best not to give away the fact that I'm aware of their presence, whoever they are. But there's not a soul in sight on the fields surrounding the mansion. Yet, they're on the balcony overlooking the garden. She stands there, and though I cannot see her face clearly from afar, I know she is the one staring at me. A servant, if one were to judge by her clothing. From the distance I can discern what those stains on her clothing are. The woman gives off a rabid air, and simply did not belong with her surroundings. That isn't what worries me, though. What worries me is that she isn't one of ours. She can't be. Obvious signs of being tattered and dirty state aside, there shouldn't be anyone else in the mansion aside from the three of us. And that balcony leads to our bedroom. Forget pretending that I don't notice her.
You! What are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there!
It's a stupid thing to do, I realize in hindsight, but calling attention to it was a spur-of-the-moment plan. From the height, there's no way she would have jumped off the balcony, and perhaps she would have only been able to sneak in there because Hana is asleep. Calling out to her would make Hana and, at the very least, call Johanna's attention to the matter at hand. I dread to think of any other way she could have gotten there without Hana calling for us. The woman on the balcony doesn't react, barely even stirs. Probably drug-addled or touched in the head, though that begs the question of how she even managed to get in there. That changes nothing, of course, and doesn't stop me from running back to the mansion.
Shrokin! There's an intruder! In the bedroom! Upstairs! Secure Hana immediately!
Busting in through the front doors, I'm greeted by Johans with a kitchen knife in his hands, looking wary and alert. There's a question on his lips for a moment, but he's quick to fall into place, giving me a curt nod before we rush up to the foyer upstairs. That woman would need to go through us to get anywhere, and between me and the butler, there's no way she's getting away. There's no announcing ourselves as I slam the bedroom door open, expecting to see the worst inside. When we find Hana simply seated at her vanity without a care in the world, my relief can't be any greater. I don't even question if she was well enough to be moving around yet. But that is soon followed by a suspicion and caution. Without a word, I signal for Johans to search through the room for the intruder, even going so far as to slipping into the second bedroom. She couldn't have gone anywhere else, not without getting our attention, not without Hana noticing. It isn't too far-fetched to think that she may have been coerced to act like nothing is out of the ordinary. If she is being forced to do this, she would be able to tell me without alerting the criminal. We should be ready for such things, after all, being the wealthy, powerful, and influential people that we are. And although I hesitate to break her peace to make her worry any more than she has the right to be, I know that matters of safety shouldn't be taken so lightly. And even if I could just content myself in just watching her.
Are you alright, Hana?
There's a moment of silence as she fastens a cord around her neck, and with her back still turned to me, she replies as calmly as can be.
Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Is there something wrong?
There's no sign of coercion or deceit. She gives none. Everything looks fine. Seems fine. Hana says as much. Stepping out onto the balcony doesn't say anything differently. The outside is devoid of any signs of human life, with how secluded the property is. Though it is hard to be sure how the sun has set, trying to locate anyone on the large property by myself would be futile. Whether it is a truth or a convenient lie, one could only assume that everything is all right, and even Johans is in agreement.
There's nobody in the second bedroom or in the closet. It's all clear.
Yet I can't fight the awful feeling that has taken over me.
Are you sure? Nobody? Double check. Triple check everything. Check the whole house if you have to.
What's going on? What is all this then?
He claims to have seen an intruder standing on your balcony. Did you notice anyone here, madam?
No, it's just been me. I've not heard or seen anybody else aside from the two of you all day. Strange.
The others have been given the day off. There shouldn't be anybody else here. Are you sure of what you saw? Perhaps you were...
Yes, I bloody well am sure of what I saw. There was a woman standing there, dark hair and in servant's clothing. Are you insinuating that I am making things up? That I'm going mad? Because if you are, I don't care how competent you've been. I won't have such disrespect directed at me. It's not paranoia if people are out to get me.
My anger is easily aroused, well thanks to the adrenaline rush that's kicked in sometime I don't know when. I don't think I'll ever get used to this feeling, really. No matter how many times I've had to rely on it to survive on the streets as a child, to survive everything with how high I've managed to prop myself up, and I take any and all threats towards my person seriously.
I'm not implying that you're mad. The occasional hallucination is a completely normal and human experience, as long as it isn't a repeat occurrence.
Oh, so what? That was a trick of the light? My imagination?
You haven't ingested any alcohol today, have you?
A valid question, but
I am not drunk.
in my state I only realize how quiet Hana has gotten when she doesn't joke about my debatable alcoholism. There's no clever quip or words of fond exasperation. She's only been watching me through all of this. And when I do notice that, I start feeling bugs crawling on my skin. When I don't deign to speak further, fixated on the sensation, Johans cuts in.
Whatever the case, we need to establish tighter security. We should have done so from the start. If you were seeing things, then we got lucky. Had there been a real intruder, we were ill prepared.
Of course. I trust that you can hire the most qualified from the agency. Are you all right, Hana? You seem disquieted.
I'm well, my love. I was just worried about how the hallucination brought you distress.
It wasn't a hallucination, I'm sure of it. But what can I do to prove otherwise?
It doesn't matter. You are safe, as am I. I overreacted.
Perhaps rest is necessary. It is late into the day, and you must be tired from your gardening.
Before I asked how she knew what I was doing, a small, fond smile graces her lips before she brushes away a few yellow petals from my sleeve. But does it really look like I'm that exhausted? I'm sure to be well rested despite it all. And it's not like I've done anything physically exhausting today. Beyond running here in a hurry anyway. No doubt I've let a trail of the flowers in my mad dash. I suppose I do look like a mess.
Rest sounds good. I guess I'll need to sleep a lot more than I thought. But
I'll stand guard outside tonight. You two will have nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about? I'm not sure about that. Well, thinking any more about it isn't going to do anything.
Come on then, my love. Off to bed. I have been restless without you by my side.
Even then, I can't force away the uneasiness that settles over me. Sleep is hard to attain, and even Hana's embrace does not help. She's still burning up. October 31st, Monday. Really, little sleep was had, and I feel completely drained come morning. Even when Hana rises from bed, in spite of a mild fever, and invites me down to breakfast, I can't be bothered to drag myself out of the comfort of the sheets. It's not like I need to do something particularly important today. The rain that has started sometime during the night doesn't help the mood. Okay, maybe it helps just a little. The strange sunny weather has been nice and all, but for it to return as it should be feels like a good sign of things to come. Perhaps things will settle back to normal and the crazy drama that has gone on lately will die down. The rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain fills the early morning silence with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have to be anywhere in a hurry today. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. With how it looks outside, it seems that the weather is making up for all the sunny days it has given us with a good old-fashioned downpour. It does let up within the quarter of an hour, however. A day beginning with a cloudburst like this, locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Luxburne's abysmal weather is back, likely for good. I hope they did a damn good job of fixing this place because I'd rather not have to deal with leaky roofs. Though Hana might find humor in it and perhaps ask me to sing in the rain to wear out my anger, I don't like the idea the realty did a horrid patch job with the place. Well, Hana technically paid millions for this place. It better live up to the price the realty company sold it for. Not that it's something she should be fretting about at the moment when her health's not at its best. Hana is going to be brought to the hospital for a checkup today, and if anything, I prefer that she focus on getting better. That fever, no matter how slight it is, can't be good for her. What with her mob behavior recently? You'd think she hit her head hard against something while I wasn't looking. Perhaps a proper rest is all she needs. I'd rather not assume things. I'm a businessman, not a doctor. Wonder of wonders why I even bother agreeing to babysitting duty on that. But here I am, scheduled as today's babysitter for a Swallows' brat once her father drops her off at the mansion steps. Though that is a worry for much, much later. If I wish to, I can ask that nobody bother me while I doze off in a cocoon of comforters. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
What do you want? It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I am quite qualified in that regard.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered. Truly, not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Loath as I am to admit it, he's right. The whole thing might have rattled me, but there is little point in jumping at every shadow I see from the corner of my eye. I shouldn't lose my head for a threat that might not even come. I should know better by now. But I've never been this worried about a possible threat in my life before. I'll be honest here. If anyone is in danger, it's Hana. I can take care of myself just fine. With security tightened, I'll have at least one guard, if not 5, making sure nobody gets within 10 feet from me without my say-so. Hana, on the other hand, will be away for most of the day to get that fever checked, upon my insistence. It is a small relief that Johans will be with her.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information, any at all, may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? Fat lot of use you guys are. What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Can anyone blame me if I show the tiniest bit of interest? She's still not done with the house, and she is a nice enough woman. Plans to go back to sleep are gone.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
She's probably passed out after enjoying a pint or 2 or 10 in a bar somewhere. She's an adult. It was the weekend. She's allowed to disappear and not think about work. Fuck. I wish I was passed out after a night of drinking. He does know that mobiles are a thing.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
Certainly someone must know where she is. Tabs are kept without fail on people who come work with me. Background checks and constant surveillance until they finish their contracts with the rights. Some would say that it's a bit over the top, but I can't be too safe. Too many want me dead.
What about one of ours? Has anyone seen her? She's pretty hard to miss with how tall the woman is.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this, and to suspect.
It's of little import that I can easily prove my innocence. It's all a matter of principle, because even the accusation of misdemeanor should not stain my reputation, although maybe it is a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it'll be such a hassle to have the police poking about the house looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Where are you?
Well, there goes any plans for grabbing some shut-eye. Rolling over on my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course, of course. Ugh!
Did you stub your toe again? Tia said you should always use your indoor voice when you have visitors.
Johans, distract her.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I had to press my face against the pillow once more to suppress a groan. You just can't help. You just can't get loyal help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today. I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
That bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, bemoan my very existence. Wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. Don't get me wrong, Kylie's a great kid. Wonderful. Better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke that is the last thing I want on my agenda right now with this whole Hana business. Fortunately, I am well versed in how the world works. I've long yearned that the show must go on, no matter what hurdles come in my way. So I set to prepare for the day. Running a comb through my hair is just divine and simply makes me feel more human. Bed hair is disgusting, though it isn't as bad now as it was when I was a child. Without how expensive a trip to the barber's was, I often had to grow it out until Mother had the time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why, I was even mistaken as a girl because of that. It certainly doesn't help that I was named Lucille. A freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away the last signs of sleepiness. The feel of a crisp and clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker to the start of the day. Smoothing down my suit and my hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. The horrors that come with taking care of a child.
Good morning to you, Luke.
Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for it.
Did you just wake up? Don't tell me you forgot. It's our playdate today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are frequent enough a thing that they found a way into my schedule. There's supposed to be visits to her godmother. But we can't pick we can't pick who a child gets along with. So long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day. Which is all well and good for me. It makes Swalwell's focus on work I've given him. Besides, she's a bright child. Tolerable. Kid's got a good head on her shoulders and can get pretty mature for her age at times. Of course, they have to thank me for that. Her parents can take partial credit, but Hannah and I have been there for this kid since she was just a small babe. Why, I can still remember the first time I saw her. It was during her baptism. The only reason I was there was to accompany Hannah, who was to be named godmother. She was such a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in her mother's arms in the white cloth. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close enough to hold one at least. It had been terrifying to be given a little child to carry after a whole water ceremony. I've never done that so before that, to hold a tiny life in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head, and this little tyke before me would have stopped existing then and there. The child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me even as I tried to hand her off to Hannah. She had thought it hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess, and I was nearly an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. Yet, it was pleasant, too.
Of course I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as he's only for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortillas de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is Apostrophe. You've been watching The Letter running on Series X. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.